There are tons of great new features in .NET 5, but what if IT won't let you install the .NET 5 runtime? Let's mash on that.
Hi everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Asp.Net Monsters. In today's episode, we're going to be playing around a little bit with builds and producing single file executables.
I mean, IT departments. Like, really, guys? Come on.
Oh, I know. What's the deal with IT departments?
Jeez.
Simon's big thing lately is doing Seinfeld stand-up.
Yeah, I don't actually do the funny part. I just do like the
just the intro.
I'm not smart enough to do the rest.
The funny part is that you don't do the funny part.
I appreciate that.
So I'm just creating a new console application here just to kind of play around with this concept of doing single file or self-contained, so single file and self-contained deployments of our applications. So I just created a new .NET Core console app here, and by default that starts me out in, I think it's still targeting .NET Core 3.1. So we're just going to come in here and change that to 5.0, which is a little bit odd. And then I meant to hit save, but I hit open. So I'm going to save that.
Well, I mean, we have discovered a few things that don't work with .NET 5, specifically in like the functions, Azure function space. So I can understand still being on the 3.
Yeah, and just the general confusion around LTS versus current and everything. I think they're just kind of sending people to the safest option, which would be to use 3.1, which is the LTS version. I'm just going to do a really simple app here. What's your name? Readline does not take in a string. Can't handle typos in my variable names, so I'm going to fix that. I'll do hello, whoever you are.
And you're going to go fancy using string interpolation.
Yep. Okay, so, which I actually got right. At least half the time I put a $sign in here now.
Oh yeah, because of JavaScript. Me too. Yeah.
Where you try to do these things.
Oh yeah, the backticks. Yeah, it's just like, it's just close enough to the same syntax that I screw it up every time.
That's me. That's my life. Switching between languages and getting the syntax wrong. Okay, so this is just a really dead simple app, right? So Dave, hello Dave, and then the program exits. Okay, so we have that app running, and I'm running it, but that's running assuming that the runtime is available to us, the .NET runtime. And that might not be the case. We might be trying to deploy our application to systems that don't have that runtime installed yet, or that you don't want to assume that a specific version of the runtime is installed. So what we're able to do is open a command line here, and I'm going to start out by showing how you do this through the CLI, and then we'll look at how you do it through Visual Studio. But what's my application here? Console app 9. There we go. Okay, so the way I build this is I do a .NET publish, and then I tell it I want to build self-contained. Self-contained true. And when you're building a self-contained app, you do have to tell it what runtime you're targeting in terms of the actual, so runtime in terms of operating system, really. So there's this nice document here about the runtime ID catalog for .NET Core, which I will link to in the show notes, that lets you know what those options are. So it's kind of like you can start vague and then get more specific. I'm going to do Win64, so 64-bit Windows is what I'm targeting.
I feel like they missed an opportunity to name this page Get Rid.
Get Rid.
Yeah.
I like that. Maybe we could do a command line tool called Get Rid that would just list them out. It'd be pretty useful. Then there's the Linux and Mac ones here, and even Tizen if you wanted to target like a watch or a TV. Apparently you can do that. Not something that I've tried. Okay, so I'm going to specify my runtime, which I can do using runtime or just -r for short. So I'm going to say win x64. And that'll build a self-contained app, meaning that like everything you need to run it will be in that folder. But I want to take that one step further and actually say I want that to be a single file. So to do that, we have to use the publish single file parameter to MS-build. So publish single file equals true, which is a little bit weird that we have like this mixture of
different syntax.
way things are specified depending on if it's a .NET, like a parameter to the .NET command or a parameter that gets passed on to MS-build. It's a little strange, but that should be it. So I think I just hit enter here. And then I'm just going to open Explorer so that we can take a look at what that did. Okay, so under bin, debug, .NET Core 5, Win x64, publish. So it's a little bit deep in there. It's not, oddly with Windows, I told it single file, but it's like not quite single file. It's just fewer files than it would be otherwise. There's these other DLLs that are kind of hanging out here, but I mean, it's not too bad.
I think that actually trims out more if you do in release mode as well, right?
Oh, yes, probably. That's actually something I meant to do. So let's do that. That would be dash what's my parameter for that?
Publish for release mode.
Configuration. So dash C release. It's between those because that's a little bit interesting to me. Okay, so we go to release .NET 5, X4, publish. Yeah, this still has those other
still
DLLs.
there. Yeah. Okay.
Whatever. So those are like fairly big because it's like the entire .NET runtime in there. They do trim some stuff out and they're working to make that even more efficient, but let's just take a look at how that works here. I should be able to just run that executable. .NET 5. 64, publish. Okay, so there's my console app 9. I can run it. What's your name? Dave. Hello, Dave. Cool. I mean, that's kind of interesting. I'm going to have to ... all the way out of here. What's even more interesting to me is that even though I'm running this on Windows, I can actually go and compile a single file release, publish a single file version of this for Linux. So if we look at those RIDs, what was it for Linux? I want to target Linux x64 is one that would target most desktop-like distributions, so I will do that, Linux x64. And now when I come in here to this folder, there's an Linux x64, and when I go to publish, it's actually a single file. And I should be able to go and run that on Linux. So if I go and open an Ubuntu, so this is the Windows subsystem for Linux, I should be able to get into that folder. So that was under source, repos, console, app 9. This like super nested structure here, debug. Net 5.0. Oh my goodness. Okay.
Almost there. Almost there.
Obviously, if I come into the Win64 version, that should run.
If you hit tab twice, it'll tell you like everything that it could complete.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't have to do that intermediate ls step.
Gotcha. Console. What? Okay, that is not what I expected to have happen. Why did that exe just run?
It's probably part of the Windows subsystem that it detects if it's a Windows executable, because you can run, like if you run code right now, even though you don't have Visual Studio Code installed inside of your environment, it will actually launch proper Visual Studio Code and then attach to your WSL.
Okay, so, but now if I come in, that's interesting. That's not what I expected would happen, but I guess that kind of makes sense. But now if I come in here, I should be able to just run this. So there's no .NET runtime installed here. There's no .NET SDK installed. The runtime's not here either. But I should be able to just run this. Now it might not run initially because I might have to change, oh no, thought I might have to change the permissions on it, but there we go, we're running this Linux self-contained .NET Core application on WSL.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Very cool.
So,
now, about a year ago, there was some noise around the self-contained that also allowed you to trim on publish as well. If you add that parameter too, does that work for both environments as well? Does it do the
publish trimmed?
Yeah, the publish trimmed flag.
I haven't actually tried that, so let's give it a try.
I just told curveball for you. I figured since we were recording here, and it'd be fun to just throw that out. But we can see if it shrinks because it was 60 megs.
Yeah.
So let's see if it goes any smaller.
Let's have a look. Down to 20 megs, so that's pretty.
Yeah.
That's pretty great. Awesome. Let's see what the Win64 version does if we do that.
That's 50 something too.
I mean, megabytes are cheap, so whatever.
They are.
Okay, what does the Win64 one look like? That one's down
11.
To
but plus a bunch of other stuff.
Plus these other things.
Yeah, so about 20.
Yeah, that's
very cool.
That's good though.
Yeah.
So you can do this from Visual Studio as well, using the publish mechanism in here. It's just buried a little bit, so we'll do a folder publish. Just publishing out to a local folder. Finish, and you just have to go into here and change the mode to self-contained, and then pick your target runtime, and then hit save, and you can hit publish, and it'll just publish out to that folder. So essentially that ends up just doing the same thing that we did from the command line. When it comes to publishing, I'm usually doing a command line because it's something that ultimately gets done through something like GitHub Actions or Azure DevOps. And it's so something that needs to be scripted as opposed to done through this dialog. But that option is there for you as well. Just have to get into that dialog.
One of the things that they do in Azure when you create a new resource, for example, is they show you all the automation steps that would be required in order to build that out. I kind of wish, and maybe it's there, maybe it's buried somewhere, but I wish that it would show you the command that it's using when you actually go through to do this publish step through Visual Studio. Because what you just demonstrated there with those two different targets is something that's very easy to add to a build script on, like say in GitHub Actions, where you'd be there is a published profile, I guess, right? Yeah, you're right. Well, it shows you the flags that are being used, but if those two times you did from the command line, those could just be added to a build script on a server targeting two different platforms, and you've got an optimized, trimmed, tree trimmed exe that is or executable. Anyways, that's all self-contained, and that's actually kind of important, I think, in a lot of environments.
Yep, I agree. So this publish dialog, sometimes it does output some PowerShell scripts at least, but this one doesn't. I think it's for web projects that it does that, but they're not as reusable as I would like.
And I mean, given that, like even that said though, like you could add this to the published properties of your different profiles. Like for release, you could have release 64, release Linux, and then just run those as your configuration that you're using to passing to the build script too. So lots of ways to get that coconut open.
That's right.
That's called foreshadowing, my friends.
Good stuff. I think it's great that we can do this. I'm kind of curious to see how much smaller they can get those files with the trimming, because I know that's something that they're putting a fair bit of effort into. So interesting to see. But already, I think those are pretty impressive numbers to have something that has the whole .NET runtime in there that's down to 20 megs.
Yeah, because being able to trim that is something that's going to be important for the Blazor stack.
Yeah, big time.
All right. Wow, very exciting. Single file applications. Remember to like, comment, and share. And we'll see everybody on next week's episode.
Cheers.
Bye.